Views are a collection of viewpoints, and viewpoints are where users view and work with application data. When you register an application, the system creates a default view with viewpoints and data chain objects for each registered dimension. The default dimension viewpoints help you manage data chain objects for the dimension. In addition to the default application view, you can create views and viewpoints to manage data for specific business purposes, such as maintaining a dimension used by multiple applications, comparing, sharing, or mapping data across applications, creating an alternate business perspective for what-if or planning purposes, generating an archival dimension snapshot, and building a tailored browsing experience for casual business users. Let's create a view to model a hierarchy that combines departments from one planning application with cost centers from another planning application. Open the Views page and click Create. Enter a name and optional description for the view, then click Create. On the General tab, you can edit the view name, description, and status. On the Viewpoints tab, you create viewpoints for the view. Select the dimension for the viewpoint. For this first viewpoint, I'll use the department dimension from the Planning and Budgeting application. Add a name and optional description for the viewpoint, then click Create. Notice that the viewpoint is in a draft state until you select a node set to use. Edit the viewpoint and select a node set. Viewpoint names can be up to 255 characters. If your viewpoint name is longer than 30 characters, you'll also need to define a label of 30 or fewer characters if you want to do any of these tasks for the viewpoint. Load request items from a file, download request items to a file, download the viewpoint to a file, generate subscription requests, drag and drop request items or nodes across viewpoints, or create request items from viewpoint comparisons. I'll leave the label blank and save the changes. Notice that once a node set is added to the viewpoint, it's no longer displayed in a draft state. Also notice that the binding status has been updated to node set bound, which means that the node set for the viewpoint is being used in another viewpoint that's bound to the dimension. Changes to the nodes in the bound viewpoint will be reflected in this viewpoint too. I'll repeat the steps to add a viewpoint for cost centers from the corporate planning application. This viewpoint represents how the cost center dimension is currently structured in the application. The third viewpoint is where I'll combine the departments and cost centers. For this viewpoint, I'll select the cost center dimension for corporate planning again, as this application is the ultimate target for the redesign. And to differentiate this from the previous viewpoint, I'll assign a node set that represents the combination of departments and cost centers into a single hierarchy. On the Definition tab for a viewpoint, you can view and inspect the node types and properties included in the viewpoint's node set. You can edit the definition to change the allowed actions and properties for the selected node type. The Properties tab displays the properties for the viewpoint determined by the node sets. On the Subscriptions tab, you can set up subscriptions to listen for changes in a source viewpoint. The subscription then automatically generates request items for the target viewpoint and either auto-submits them or sends notifications to subscription users that a request was generated, depending on how the subscription is set up. For more information on how to create and consume subscriptions, see our overview and tutorial videos. Finally, the Data Chain tab displays the data chain objects for the viewpoint. You can click on an object type to see details. Click on an object to inspect it. Let's return to the View Inspector. The Viewpoints tab now displays all three viewpoints, and you can use the links to inspect the related viewpoints, applications, dimensions, or node sets. You can edit the Viewpoints tab to reorder the display and delete unbound or partially bound viewpoints. Note, fully bound viewpoints must be unbound from their dimensions before you can delete them. When you're done creating and editing viewpoints, close the inspector. The view is now displayed in the View list. When you open the view, you can see the viewpoints and their corresponding data. The Viewpoint Actions menu lets you inspect, compare, validate, copy, and download the viewpoint to a file. I can now use this view to model a combined cost center hierarchy by opening a request and dragging nodes from the department and cost center viewpoints to the new cost center viewpoint. To learn more, visit docs.oracle.com.